Hello, so here's the problem number 2 of graph assignment, and in this problem we have to find, not find but print all path between the starting point and end point if there is a path between two vertices in a graph. So for example, let's consider the example from problem number 1 when we have this graph and the starting point will be similar, which is 2, and the end point will be 1. In our previous problem, we were able to find out that there is a path exists between two of these edges, and here we have to find, not find, but print all these elements from the graph, all these edges like 2, 0, and 1. So like just showing up the edges of the path. So in order to solve this problem, we will use the same is connected method from our problem 1, but in this case we will a little modify this is connected method. So we'll just take out this discovered array and Q data structures out of this array, and they will be declared at the beginning before the method. So we'll declare our array with the false default values, and we will declare our Q. And once we will start putting our path into our queue, we'll just keep putting it, looking to our function, like changing the value to true. If it's not true, we'll just keep pushing the values from 0. Then we will check the 0 value, which is 1, true and true. So this queue and discovered array will be out of our method, and method will be called recursively. So into the method we will be passing the graph itself, the source and destination edges in the graph, the array itself, and the queue path. And as you see, will return true if the source will become equal to destination. Otherwise, we'll just keep going through each element in the list and keep calling for is connected. And once it will return true, we'll just take this path queue and we'll print all the elements from this queue. So how gonna this happen? So let's imagine we have a stack of a memory. So at the beginning we'll just store 2, then let's assume that we will go in this direction, then we will store 2 and 3. At this point our function is connected recursively will return false, so this is not gonna work, but we will go through another path. So from here we'll go and store 2 and 0, and then we will just store 2, 0 and 1. So at this point our method will return true, and we will have a fulfilled queue with the elements like 2, 0 and 1. So we're gonna print out these elements at the end. So here's our function. Once it's returned true, it will just keep going, calling itself and just storing all the elements in the queue which will be outside of this function. At the end we'll just check and call this function pass graph source destination and destination points, also an array, and the queue data structure. And if it will return true, we will just print elements from the queue. So if it's true, we will just do next thing. We will just for each integer element in path console write. So in order to write it in one line, we'll just element plus white space, so there will be white space between elements from the queue. Yeah, that's it. So with this we will just print all the elements from a queue, which will be storing the data that we found by calling this function recursively.